heartily welcome our speaker, Dr. Mahendra Singh Gadvi. I also would like to welcome our principal, Dr. M.P. Bhatt, and also I would like to welcome our HOD, sir, Dr. R.K. Jain, sir. Now, uh, I would like to invite principal, sir, to say few words.
A very warm welcome to all of you, and especially Dr. Gadvi. We heartily welcome you, sir, to this interactive webinar organized by Civil Engineering Department. I'm very sure that utilizing this time for getting some valuable stuff from the experts like you will be quite useful for the students of Civil Engineering Department. And I congratulate all the faculty members, team, and Department of Civil Engineering for having this opportunity made available to the students of our college. Not taking much time, again welcoming Dr. Gadvi and expecting that the valuable deliverables will be very much useful to the students in the future. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, everybody. Dear participants, faculty members, Dr. Gadvi. This is again in the series of webinars which were being hosted by our digital SSCC platforms. The student definitely will be enlightened about this topic, which is Geographic Information System, which is to be delivered by Gadvi. Dr. Gadvi is an expert in the field of GIS. He has worked in the field of preferably in geology, but it is not only the geology where we can use this GIS. There are several fields like transportation engineering, water resource engineering, hydrology, where this GIS could be of very use. So I request all the students, particularly the postgraduate student, they will find this topic very much useful, very much fruitful rather for their dissertation work. And I again welcome Professor Gadvi in this webinar. Thank you.
Our college is organizing a webinar in which we have invited Dr. M.S. Gadvi is an expert speaker who is currently working in a LDCE, that is LD College of Engineering, Ahmedabad, as an assistant professor in a civil engineering department. He has completed his doctoral program from MS University in 2012. Gadvi sir has a vast experience of working in a different fields, starting from a junior research fellow to senior research fellow at MSU Baroda, and then as a scientist at the Institute of Seismological Research from 2006 to 2009. And from 2009, he is contributing to the system from LD College of Engineering. Apart from this, he was also assigned as various duties like Associate Director, Training and Capability Building at Knowledge Consortium, then Officer on Special Duty, OSD at GKS and ACPC. And currently, he is assigned as an OSD, Officer on Special Duty, for activities related to student startup and innovation policy at Gujarat Knowledge Society. He has also contributed to presented so many research works in various kinds of journals and all. And without further ado, I would like to heartily welcome our speaker, Dr. M.S. Gadvi. And now I am handing over the session to Gadvi sir to start the presentation. Gadvi sir.
Thank you, Mayani Saab, and all the staff members of SSCG. Today's topic is quite different. Lot of application is there in the field of GIS. And civil engineering particularly has got lot many applications from the GIS, and it has transformed the civil engineering field. So since this technique is a bit new, or maybe still we are not having too many sessions on this, and it's not it is there in the syllabus, but not with very much depth and practical knowledge. So today my approach will be more of practical. A little bit theory will be there, but we will discuss more practical aspects of GIS in civil engineering. To start with, I will give you some basic idea, not much of theory, but some basic idea about the GIS, what is GIS, and what are different kind of data models in GIS, little bit, so that you can understand, and then you will directly jump upon the application part of the GIS. So there are lot many applications in civil engineering field, but today I'm going to cover, not even cover, but touch upon three aspects. That is, one is terrain analysis, and then project planning and execution, and water resource engineering. So these are three fields. Today we will discuss with some examples, with field examples. We will discuss this. These three fields with some good real examples and field data. So what is GIS? GIS refers to any information system that integrates, stores, edits, analyzes, shares, and displays geographic information. Now we are using so many words like integration, and it stores the data, it edits, and we can analyze also. So how practically we can do this, that we will see with the examples. And GIS may involve a number of different technologies for data acquisition. Like for data acquisition, we can have satellite imageries, we can have ground-based surveying data, we can have manual surveys, and we can have other design data like AutoCAD designs, or any form of data, physical, virtual, all that can be integrated in GIS with different layers. Geographic information system lets us visualize. That is very important to visualize. We can visualize data in 2D, 3D, different ways we can visualize. So we will see how that we can achieve. And we can question the data. We can generate queries. We can ask the system to provide certain answers. For example, like Google Maps we have, and we can ask Google Maps restaurants near me or petrol pumps near me, and it will answer you. So that is also an application of GIS. That is for part of transportation. It can show you shortest route to airport or to the hospital, whatever. So that is kind of a question query we can do. And analysis, of course, and we can also interpret the data to understand relationship patterns and trends within the data set. So all this system can do for us. When we are talking about civil engineering applications, GIS is transforming, disrupting, and expanding the ways engineers serve the society, particularly civil engineers. It provides layers of data on top of geographic maps. So we can integrate them, we can correlate them, and that can help engineers and others make better and informed decisions. So decision making has become much easier and better with the help of GIS, because we have a number of layers and number of information at our hand, and we can visualize that, we can analyze that easily. GIS empowers modern civil engineers to capture and analyze spatial data. In GIS, the data can be presented in layered visualization using digital geographic maps. Now, when we are talking about GIS, how actually data is represented in GIS? What are the data formats, data models in GIS? So for real earth features, real world features, there are two basic forms. Like there are phenomena and there are objects. So what are phenomena? Temperature, we can have temperature map, we can have rainfall map. See, these kind of maps we use for water resource engineering many times. Maybe I hope many master degree students are also part of this webinar. They can have a lot of applications like this. We can have gravity field map, magnetic, and of course terrain. Terrain is also a phenomena that can be represented. And of course, we can represent the objects also, like we have trees, buildings, and within objects, we have natural objects as well as we have man-made objects like canals and buildings, road network, whatever. All those objects and phenomena, they can be represented in GIS. So to represent these two kind of phenomena and objects, we have two data models. Like for phenomena, we have the raster data model, and for objects, we have the vector data model in GIS. So these are the two basic data models. Within raster, we have images and models. So images, satellite images, radar images are there. That kind of data set can be represented in raster model. And as we discussed, digital elevation models are there. For terrain, we have digital surface models, gravity models. They can be represented as the model in the model form, and images can be represented as a raster. Then we have the vector data model. Has basically two kind of set of information. One is spatial data. So spatial data, there are three types. Again, any data that covers the area, we call it polygon, and any linear feature is represented with the line, and any unidimensional feature can be represented as a point, like locations of trees or electric poles or any other information that can be represented as points. And roads, railway network, canal, these can be as polylines. And we can have lakes and other water bodies. Such kind of data set can be represented as polygon. Now, all vector data, they can have some kind of additional information, like roads, they will have names, or say trees are there. We are trying to represent trees with points. So trees, different kind of species can be there. So all such additional data is considered as attribute data, like name of road, width of road, or any other information related to that. Canal is there, canal width, or if lakes are there, we can have names of lakes. So all those things are considered as attribute data, additional information for particular feature on the map. So these are basic two data models in GIS. Let us try to understand this with some example here. So this is a digital elevation model. So when we conduct a survey, or maybe using the satellite technology like radar, we can generate the digital elevation model. Yeah, so digital elevation model is one way to represent the terrain. And of course, we can represent the terrain using the contours also. That is uh, uh, vector data model to represent the terrain. So one phenomena can be represented in raster as well as in vector, but for objects usually vector data model is preferred. So that is much easier to analyze, and say if we have boundaries of lakes or boundaries of different kind of land formats, landforms, we can calculate their area easily in the vector format. So that becomes easy for us to use vector format for such representations. And in GIS environment, we can generate a different kind of layouts, map layouts, and we can place our data in different ways. Like here in this map layout, you can see a digital elevation model, and contours are also draped over on this digital elevation model, and you can see two lines in this A dash and B dash. And these are the elevation lines profiles. So we can see at the bottom sections, elevation sections. And of course, we can have another frame within this frame wherein contours are draped over on a satellite image. So a number of ways we can present the data, like in this example also here. So now coming to the practical part of this, because as I told you, not much of theory, but I would like to go more, to present more about the practical utility of the software. So I'll go back to another screen here. Yeah. Yeah. So when we are talking about terrain analysis or topographic analysis, what we can do, first of all, visualization is there. So GIS allows us to visualize the terrain in different ways. Like we have DEM, DSM. DEM is digital elevation model, digital surface model. Then we can do contouring. We can generate the contours and drape imagery over DSM or DEM, and of course we can have 3D views. So let us see practically how we can do this. So first of all, let me show you a digital elevation model. Yeah. So here you can see this is a digital elevation model of part of Narmada River, and today we are going to discuss this area much in detail, like because this is the site for construction of Statue of Unity, and I did a little bit of work here, so we'll share more details. So this is how we can represent a terrain in a digital format, and we can generate contours on this. If you want, we can have like generate contours on this. Let us try one example here. So we can have the contour interval, whatever contour interval we want. I'm keeping here 5 meter contour interval, and just say OK to this. So This will generate contours for us. And I will just turn off the background image here. So here we can see these are the contours here. And actually, this is the area where the statue is built. And this is the bank of the Narmada River, right bank. So at any interval, we can generate the contours. I will turn off this layer again and let us go back to this layer. So that's the elevation model. And one more thing, digital surface model. Nowadays, digital surface models also have become common. For that, I will have to share another screen here. Because with new technology of drone surveying, digital surface models have become very common. And I'll show you how they look actually. So yeah, this is digital surface model of one institute here, and we can see different buildings within that. What is the difference between digital elevation model and surface model? If you ask, major difference is in surface model we can see the plants, we can see the trees also. So in this data set, you can see the trees also. They are also occupying the elevation model. Okay, and if we want only the surface, then we have to remove this data set. We have to filter out actually. So for that also, softwares they provide some tools, and we can filter out certain type of data set. But here in this data set, you can see there are trees, different trees are there, and buildings are there, and then roads are there. Now I will drop over imagery over this. So this data was collected using drone, and imagery also using drone. This imagery, some error is there. Maybe we can reload that. We'll open up again the image file here. Yeah, so that's the image file. Yes, so here you can see the image file. So this DSM, digital surface model, is there in the background, and the image is dropped over the surface model. So we can turn off any of these layers, like I can turn off the image, and you can see the surface model, and then this is the image here. We can have 3D view also. So since this is ortho image, only top view of the buildings are there, and if I go for 3D of this, sides of buildings are not going to be very good in that way. But still we can, again I will have to share this screen probably, 3D view screen. Manisab, is it visible 3D view screen, or can you comment?
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir.
3D, I mean, okay. So when I'm rotating this, are you able to see 3D view of buildings and trees and all those?
No, it is not rotating.
Okay, then maybe you are just seeing the digital surface model. but not 3D view probably. So let
Yes.
me share the screen again for 3D view. Yeah, so that is the 3D view here. So here we have this. This is the 3D view of different buildings. There is some vertical exaggeration. Maybe I can reduce that. Okay, so this is the 3D
Yes.
view of yeah. So as I told you, this is ortho image is there. So only top view is taken, and sides of buildings are not going to be very with very high pixels, high resolution. But in terrain, we can see these things. I will turn off this screen again, and let me go back to some other view. Yeah, we were talking about Narmada River part, and let me go back to that screen again. So on this screen, I can drop satellite data. Like this is the satellite data here. Maybe a larger image. Yeah, this image you can drop over, and I can zoom out a little bit. So here you can see Narmada River, and you can see the Sardar Sarovar Dam also, right side of the screen. Okay, and we can view this also in 3D like this. I can have 3D view of this again. Well, I have to share the 3D screen. Okay, there is no elevation data on this, so it appears flat. But let me open the elevation data here. Okay, only small portion is there where we have the elevation data. So just let us go back to the image itself. Okay, I hope now you people are able to see this 3D screen. So here we can see whatever data set we have. Just I'm trying to present that part, and maybe we can zoom in. So here we can see this hill. This is the hill which is called Sadhu Hill, and statue is built on this hill only. So this is we can drop over the satellite data for different kind of visualization and analysis, interpretation, visual interpretation we can do. Apart from that, contouring we have already discussed. We can have within few seconds we can have the contours of any area with different kind of contour intervals and different settings. Whatever settings we can do, draping satellite data we have discussed, and 3D view. Now, what kind of analysis we can do? So these were all kind of visualizations for the terrain analysis we can do. And when we are talking about the analysis, we can have like elevation profiles. We can calculate cut fill area, line of sight, and we can have profiles at a perpendicular distance to a path. All those things we can do. So I will go back to the screen. So first we have to turn off the screen. Yeah. Let us see what kind of analysis, terrain analysis we can do here. So for example, say we have this area, okay, from Narmada River. I will turn off this image. Yeah. And we have satellite data, and in the background we have the digital elevation model of the area. Small portion is there, and we can have the profile, elevation profiles, and we can have the cut fill areas in this. Say for example, if you want to calculate, if you want to see profile along this direction, we can have this profile like this. Here, this is a little bit discrete data set. The elevation model is discrete, wherein instead of gradually changing the elevation, it is changing with some steps. Okay, because it was collected in LiDAR, and so I'll present another data here to all of you, so which is much better. I will stop sharing this and okay. For example, this is satellite data called Shuttle Radar Topography Mission data. Gujarat Rajasthan border area, we can see Mount Abu here. This hillock is there. So this is again, this is digital elevation model. Okay, wherein we can see the elevation, and whenever I'm moving the cursor, the bottom of the screen, maybe you can see latitude, longitudes, and to the right side and to the left side, you can see the elevation heights in meters. So in this data set, say kind of analysis, if we want to do, I can generate a elevation profile here, okay, across any direction. So I can just click and yeah. So say this is the elevation profile, 50 kilometer long elevation profile is there, 53 kilometer long, and we can do many different kind of exercises within this. For example, if you want to say cut fill area, we want to calculate for a particular direction, I will try to append this profile with this present screen so that we can work, yeah, at the bottom of this. Okay. So yellow line that you see on the upper screen is our profile on the map view, and this is the section view. And wherever I am moving the cursor, you can see the on the map also where that peak is. Say for example, this is the highest peak here in this in our profile, and if you want to locate the peak in the map, you can see where it is. I will zoom in a little bit so that it becomes much better. Let us zoom in a little more. Okay, and now if I bring the cursor here, so that shows the highest peak here, and likewise we can have different peaks wherever we want. We can identify where they are. So that is also kind of a requirement sometimes we need to do. And if you want to calculate cut fill area, So there are tools with this software also. This is called Global Mapper, and like QGIS and ArcGIS also, they also have different tools. Today we will be talking about Global Mapper and ArcGIS. A little bit some of the tools we will discuss from ArcGIS also. So here, when you click on cut fill area, it will software will ask you what is the diameter of the corridor. So say we are trying to plan a road or something, then what is the width of that particular structure, that linear structure that we have to provide here. Say it is 5 meter, or say it is 10 meter wide. Okay, so we can provide that detail here, and we can have different elevation levels within our profile also. Like our this section profile, if you see, it starts from 250 meters and it goes up to it is more than 625 meters. Say our structure is starting at 250, and then it is going to maybe we can say 500 meters, and let us see what is the cut fill area. So we can have two different elevation levels. So 250 meters we can give here above the sea level. Yes. Meters, and we can have say 250 to 500 meters, just for this is above the sea level, and then say okay to this. So software will calculate cut fill areas. So this is very large distance. Of course we can have for smaller distances, and on this screen you can see the cut volume and fill volume, all those things. And on the bottom screen you can see a red line. So that is our profile, along which we have calculated the cut and fill area. Okay, 250 to 500 meters slope is there. Like that, for any region, for any terrain, we can do this kind of analysis. And this is a basic requirement while working with some projects of like canal and road and railway networks. We need to calculate cut fill areas for particular stretch. So that is one exercise that we can do. Let's close down that, and apart from that, we can have line of sight we can calculate, and also we can extract the profile paths perpendicular to our section line here. So let us try with that. Yeah, so here we can give some weights for our perpendicular lines to this section line. Say, let us say it is 25 meters. I hope screen is visible. Some disturbance is there, but yeah. So here we have this another window here, and somehow it is not visible on this. So whatever paths we have, along that path we can have perpendicular to that path, we can have several profiles using this. And this location shows the you can see the cursor. When I move cursor here in lower screen, bottom part of the screen, you can see the mark on the map view. So that shows the location of this profile. Okay. So like this, we can move. I'm going, say, let us go to middle part of this, and here we are in the middle part of the path. Okay. So like that, we can have several profiles wherever we want. We can different kind of analysis we can do. So that is all. Today we are going to discuss about terrain analysis. There are a lot many other things that we can do in terrain analysis. Now coming to the water resource part, let us go back to the presentation again, and then we'll come back. Yeah. So when we are talking about application of GIS in water resources, again, there are so many things that we can do in GIS environment. Today, we will discuss a couple of things in detail, and for more practical purpose, for master degree students of water resources, there are some applications like flow direction analysis we can do. And GIS, so what is flow direction analysis? And flow direction analysis, actually it calculates the flow direction from each cell. Software will calculate flow direction from each cell to its downslope neighbor, or many pixels, and can be presented in new raster format. So if we have say digital surface model, software will calculate which is the downslope direction, and we can do analysis of the flow within the software. So this is very useful application for water resource engineering. One more useful application is stream order. We can ask our software, we can query our software to count the stream orders for a particular vector as well as raster data sets. So segments of raster representing branches of linear network can be assigned a numeric order. So we can give different orders, a numeric order. Of course, stream ordering is one of the exercises in water resource engineering. Another application, useful application, is flow length analysis. We can do in GIS, that is upstream or downstream distance for any point along the flow paths. We can calculate what is the length. So at a given point, what is the length of say catchment, that basically we can calculate with this this application. Then much useful application is watershed extraction. We can extract the watersheds for a given data set. Also, we can extract the drainage network. So in earlier days, students, they used to digitize the drainage from say toposets or any available map format. Now, of course, we can extract the drainage network from the given satellite data. So let us see practically how we can do. Let us first we can try the watershed extraction. I will go for one example here for a data set. So again, we'll switch over the screen. We'll go back to other screen here. Okay, so again, we are with the software here, and I will turn off this screen, let this bottom screen here, profile screen. So as I told you, this is in the background we have satellite data. There is this radar data, and it represents the digital elevation model of entire Gujarat area. I will just zoom out to entire data set. So you can see the digital elevation model of Gujarat completely. And for a very small portion, we will do exercise to extract the water sets. So let us see, let us zoom into this particular area. Okay, again we are at Gujarat and Rajasthan border area, and this high hill red with red tone, you can see this is the Mount Abu here, and we have Dantewada dam structure somewhere in the southern part of this. I will drop over one of the satellite image here so that you can actually visualize the surface features also. Let us drop over one more layer here. Yeah, so here you can see this is the satellite data dropped over the digital elevation model, and this structure, this is the Dantewada dam here. Say if you want to calculate the catchment for this particular region, we can do one exercise here. So I have just prepared one layer here. So this is the one polygon is there, and within this polygon, if say for example we want to calculate the what are the different water sets within this. So this polygon basically it covers the catchment area for Dantewada dam, more or less. It is roughly just for example, so it is not precisely done, but roughly it covers. I will just change the color of this so that we can see the background maybe. Well, maybe not possible from this one. Okay, so now maybe you can see a black line, or I can just turn off this layer. Yeah, let us turn off this layer and this layer also. So we have one polygon here. So that polygon roughly covers the catchment area of. So what are the micro water sets within this catchment area of the Dantewada dam that we can actually find out using the software here. And for that, I will open up again this elevation model, digital elevation model here. In this DEM, what we can do is we can select the polygon first of all. So this is the area for which we are going to work. Okay, and then go to the analysis, and we can have generate water sets. So we have to select the boundary, for which I'm not going to do it for entire Gujarat because data for entire Gujarat is loaded on this software, but we will crop the area for selected feature. So that is for that polygon. And here we can give different settings like stream cell counts. I'm giving very high settings so that software, it doesn't take much time and we can actually see the result on the screen. And we are discarding smaller streams also here. smaller than 5,000 meters, discard stream that is less than 5,000 meters, and just say OK to this. So software will calculate, okay, and we will be able to see the water sets. Okay, so it is already there. Yes, and I will turn off this background data. Okay, it has calculated only one big water set here. Maybe we can have some different settings for that. And only one stream is there, but more or less it has extracted the boundary of catchment of Dantewada Dam. So we had one rough boundary, and now this is very precise boundary of catchment area of Dantewada Dam. Now with this data set, within this data set, now if you see our older boundary was here, that is the old one, and this is the new data which is extracted. So for this data set, we can have different kind of information, like we can have perimeter here, we are having the area covered within this. For water resource engineering, a lot many details are required, like area, and of course we can do other calculations also with the software. We can export this particular feature as a SAP file, and then we can use it for other softwares also. So that is one way to extract the information from the software. So this is one huge water set we have done, and we can have some micro water sets also. I'll show you some micro water sets that were calculated using this. So these are smaller water sets. You can see if you change the settings, software will provide you boundaries for smaller water sets. At different settings, we can have different water sets. This is the bigger one. For different area sets, some sample data was generated here. So these are the micro water sets you can see. And for these micro water sets, software is also able to calculate the prepare the drainage network also. So this is the drainage network. Again, I will turn off water sets so that you can see the drainage network. So these are the this is the drainage network with different orders of streams in the Dantewada Dam catchment area. So depending on our settings, our requirements, we can generate different kind of information out of so this is what we have generated lastly. So this is the only one water set, huge water set, and one drainage. So this is the main stream only what we can see here. So this is we can see the length of that stream, and we can calculate many things on this also. So that is one exercise that we can do. Water set extraction and drainage network extraction for water resource engineering. Going back to presentation. Yeah. And lastly, see, GIS is having so many other applications, but looking at time constraint and other limitations, we are discussing these two main, and then how we can implement, actually we can utilize these tools in project planning and execution. So with one good example and with my own experience, I want to share with you that is about Statue of Unity. So for Statue of Unity project, actually I worked, I did some mapping for foundation of the statue, and at different stages of execution. Also, I provided some insight to the working team there. So what we can do using the GIS in this, first of all, GIS helps us in visualization of different layers of information. So when such kind of project is being implemented, which is kind of world monument, a lot of information is gathered at different sources. Like we have information from hydrology, we have seismic related information, we have geological information, geotechnical information, and of course terrain and contouring and all those things we have. And also since it had this project was having some tourist perspective also, so we have to see aesthetics, we have to see so how during the daylight, during the evening, during the morning, how it will look. All those things were there. And of course, we can do all those things in the software. So let us go to the practical part of this and discuss the things. So I'm going to So I hope this screen is visible to all of you. Manisha, can you comment?
Yes, sir, visible.
Yeah. So and ArcGIS, different layers are there, you can see. And at present, layer which is visible on your screen is satellite data. And Narmada River we can see actually. So how actually when we plan such kind of project, how things go and how we zero on and at larger and larger scale. So this is a very regional scale. We can see Narmada River, and then within that we can drap over very high resolution imagery, and we can zoom on to that imagery. So let us zoom to that data set. I will drop over this image here and let us zoom to this layer. Okay, so here this is the image. Yeah, so here we can see this is the distribution model. I will open up contours here. Okay, those are generated contours. Like these are the contours generated using LiDAR, okay, and AutoCAD. So very detailed contours were there, and of course we can zoom in and we can see at different zooms. We can see, we can have what is the elevation, what is the elevation of this contour, what is the elevation individual. We can see, we can even we can label them, we can have all those facilities. Okay, so I will turn off this layer also, and again zooming out. So here we can see regional view, and I was selected. So within that area, service was selected LiDAR service. So we have the display elevation model of that LiDAR service, and we use that with one single color. and two different headings. So we have removed this so that two colors or lower elevations for higher elevations. So this kind of software, they have so many tools. They have to please. So this is in different small. Maybe we can have hillside effect. We can remove that also. Say if you remove it appears more smooth. So this is the so that is the island on which it is standing and decided, and this survey was conducted. So one images and low resolution images, high resolution images. And that so that image is not having that much of resolution. So high resolution images were then wrapped over, and we have like this is the high resolution image here. Again, I'll have to set some parameters so that it becomes visible to all of you. For example, I have to apply the gamma stretch, and yes, I can turn off this digital elevation model layer. So here you can see, so this is the image. I can zoom to this layer, this image. Okay, so that is the entire area of project. We can see right side, we can see the dam, Sardar Sarovar Dam, and that is the Sadhu Hill side. So one layer, then this is another layer of information. Then we have digital elevation model of much smaller area, this one. So that was generated. So again, I'm zooming into that part. So now we are basically narrowing in. Okay, so here there is road you can see on satellite data, and then here we can see the elevation. So this is the elevation where parking and all that is done, and a bridge is constructed from where to reach the statue actually. So design was finalized, and let me bring the design here. So many layers are there. Yeah, that is the layout. That is the layout and design. I will turn off other layers so that you can visualize the design. Yeah, so that is the design within this surveyed area. There is a model. I will turn off that layer also. Yeah, here you can see. So this is the main statue part again. So from regional, we are gradually zooming in and narrowing down the area. So I'm zooming into this part. Here you can see footprint in this part. So that is the footprint of the statue, and that is the bridge from where. So design was there. So all these layers are there one upon other layers. I'll show you how other layers have helped. We have generated some layers, like we have generated geological information. So some faults are there, say, or study over there. So you can see the wealth of information that is generated here, and how it actually it has helped at different stages of this project, right from planning to execution. So when I run on this layer of faults, this layer, so many red lines are these are different faults. So of course. And let me bring this basic design to this so that you see. Yeah, so that is the basic design here, and footprint, the statue. Into this part, this is the footprint of the statue, and different units and how the structures are within footprint area. Very detailed study was carried out within different fractures for that. You can see very I have to now with the map here so that you can see some lines. And these are the different lines, different types of fractures that are mapped within the footprint area. You can see. So, not many layers of information locally and regionally, and different skills, different with different aspects also. Apart from these things, GIS environment helps us other aspects also, like in the downstream of this issue, Garudeshwar, when Garudeshwar gear is being constructed. So damming there was, of course, going to increase the water level within this area. So again, I'm coming back to this digital elevation model. Okay, here we can see. I will just crop out a small area. Yeah. So in this digital elevation model, let us try to visualize how water level change in water level can affect this project actually. So that also we can do in 3D view of this. So I'll again go back to this 3D view. Maybe I had to save the screen again for that. Yeah, so let us save this. So here, this is the 3D view of this project site, and this is the cursor is visible. I hope. Mayanisa, can you comment?
Yes, sir, it is visible.
Cursor, when I'm moving the cursor,
yes.
Can you
Yes.
see? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So that is the site. Okay, and where the statue is constructed. Now, if water level increases, what will happen? That let us try to see that that we can do in the software here. We can actually increase the water level. Say, so the water level here, if I click on this, and I can increase the water level here. So here on the there is one small window here. It shows the water level, so it is minus 10 meters. So no, we have to increase the water level. I'm increasing the water level 5 meters. You can see this in this left corner, upper corner. You can see the water level, and I'm going to increase the water level. Okay, let us. So that is from mean sea level, of course. Okay, now it has gone to 30 meters. Okay, so when RL 30 meter is achieved, okay, this much area will be submerged. Okay, different topographic features within that site area, and if if we are going a little down 25 meters, some part will be exposed, and say 35 meters. This is 35 meters, and you can see water here. Much larger area is submerged, and if we are going to 40 meters, much larger area is submerged. And then now we can see this is the island completely. This is the separately, it is surrounded by water. So that is visible. So this is also a kind of analysis, water level analysis we can do. So it has application in water resources also, and it has applications in planning and execution of such projects also. So we can actually visualize, we can actually see how much area, which are the different features will be submerged when we increase the water level. So this is again this has gone to 45 meters. So 45 meters water level, when it is going this high, only this much part of the island will be exposed. And of course we can visualize it from different. Sorry, yeah, please. I'm audible.
Sir,
yeah,
please present your screen, because in video
okay, it has gone.
Your screen is not.
Okay, sorry.
So please present now.
Yeah, if somebody clicks the, yeah. Is it there now?
Yes, sir. Oh,
yeah. So yeah, so we were talking about the water level. So I can decrease water level or increase water level. Say this is 40 meters. You can see at left corner, upper corner of the screen, when I decrease the water level, this is 35 meters, and some of the features are exposed. Okay, we can visualize it with different angles, different ways we can do that. So that is how we can play with this data. Okay, so again, okay, going back to the Statue of Unity project data set. So I will go back to the structure here. Yeah, so you can see, so that was the basic design, CAD design with green lines you can see, and footprint of the statue, and we can grab the geology here, we can open up geology, we can have geotechnical data is also there, like bore wells are there for geotechnical investigation. Like I can open up, yeah, these are the bore well locations. So green dots, you can see bore well locations, and so much of information. It can be integrated, it can be analyzed at one stage, and during the execution of project we can utilize that. I think for today, I think already it is nearing 4 o'clock. So we can open up the session for question and answer, maybe.
okay, sir.
Yeah, please.
So it was very nice and informative, and I definitely sure that it will be very helpful to the persons who are planning to be professionals on that GIS. I would like to thank you, sir, for this webinar, and the content that is very nice and informative to the participants. So I would like to uh, ask participants if there is any questions on their mind. They can type it on a chat window.
Yeah, we can have some questions here.
Someone have in between your presentation, sir. Someone have asked about which software are
Yeah.
available for free of cost, right?
Yes. I can read that. QGIS is better, and it is freely available. Actually, I wanted to have a section on QGIS also, but because of some some network difficulty, I was unable to actually install here. Uh, but QGIS is freely available, and it's very similar to ArcGIS, so that can be utilized.
Yes.
Yeah, I can see one more question like satellite image. Uh, yeah, many satellite images and satellite data are available freely. I would request you to note down a few of them. Like one is Landsat data. I will maybe I can show you some of these data sets. I can stop sharing this screen, and Landsat data is kind of a satellite data which is available for free download. Okay, on this screen, I can show you some of the data sets. Like this is the Landsat data for Gujarat area. You can see entire Gujarat region. So these are satellite images that you can freely download from different sites like USGS, and many sites are providing this. Apart from this, I've shown you this data set. This is the SRTM data. This is called Subtle Radar Topography Mission data. So this is available on site of Canadian Space Agency, and some other sites also they are providing freely. This also you can download. Digital elevation models are available there, and you can work with those DEMs. Different kind of exercises you can do. What I have shown here, and many other things you can do. Basically, you can play with this data. Similar to this data, there is one more data set that is called Aster data, which is available from Japanese Space Agency website. That is also freely available, and Aster is also digital elevation model with 30-meter resolution. SRTM is also available with 30-meter resolution. So these data sets you can use for different kind of terrain analysis exercises, and for regional scale they are good enough. So that is one thing I wanted to share with you. Yeah, let us go back to question answer again. Yeah, mine is any other question, important questions you can just.
Okay, so one is that what is linear method that we used in a Statue of Unity. So I think you have answered that in a brief.
Yeah, briefly, it is LIDAR. Like radar, we have LIDAR is technology that is called LIDAR, light detection and ranging. So LIDAR technology is nowadays available. Drone-based LIDARs are available, and on the ground also, ground-based LIDARs are also available. And we can actually scan the terrain. Entire terrain can be scanned. We can very high resolution digital elevation model can be generated using these kind of techniques. So that can be utilized for different purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I can see one question here. How would you link the GIS availability with AIS in planning phase, and how it is better equipped to help than regular surveying practices? So, well, GIS is very much useful, like as we have already discussed, so many layers. Regular surveying only it generates only one layer or two layers of information, and you can't actually integrate them. While in GIS, you can have so many different layers. We have the borewell data, we have the geological mapping. Within geological mapping, we have different layers, like for faults, different layers are there, and for bedding, for rock types, different layers are there. And then we have the hydrological data, river dynamics, what will be the area when it is which are the parts which will be submerged. Apart from that, we have section lines. We have so much of information is there, and we can directly drop our CAD design on that. We have the seismic data. So for planning, it helps a lot. It makes planning stage very, very, very easy and very fruitful. Yeah. Manisab, if any other question, if I have missed in between.
Okay, there is one interesting question is that is flight planning useful in GIS?
Sorry, can you repeat?
Is flight planning useful in a GIS?
Flight planning. Yeah, flight planning applications are there in GIS to generate different scenarios, actually. Say, if we want to represent our site with different aspects, we can generate different flights over that site area with different layers. Not only topography, but we can have different kind of layers, different kind of information. We can have geological information, or we can have vegetation information, and we can have the flight. We can actually fly over that part of the site, and explaining the client, it becomes very easy. Okay, using these kind of flights. Or if you want to do marketing of the site, say you have some construction site and you want to market that site, you can have you can utilize this tool.
Okay.
Yeah, I can see one question here. Is GIS gives details of DEM selection site? Of course, for site selection, not only DEM, for any other structure, civil structure, GIS becomes very useful because you have so many layers at hand, and decision making becomes much easier. Okay, so that is the beauty, because all the data you can integrate, and even if we don't want to take decision with human knowledge, we can ask software. Actually, we can give weightage, and software can decide. Software can finalize the site. So that is also possible for us to do.
Okay, sir. Let us take one last question.
Yeah.
That is, what is different method available to get 3D mapping of particular area other than satellite?
Okay, for 3D mapping, see, for surveying, there are different techniques. So other than satellite, when you are talking, so space technology, that is one thing we are not going to discuss right now, but airborne techniques are there, and drone based techniques are nowadays they have picked a lot of momentum, and a lot of application is there. So using drones, we can survey any area, we can generate 3D, we can elevation models of any area. And with drones also, there are two basic techniques. One is photogrammetric technique, wherein simple camera is used, and a drone will collect the images with different angles, kind of data that I had shown you for a particular institute. So that was photogrammetric technique based data set. And LIDAR data. LIDAR also we have seen here. So LIDAR is an instrument that can be placed on the drone, and we can actually survey the area. So that is drone based, and ground based techniques are also there. Simply using the total station also we can have 3D mapping. And there are terrestrial scanners also, like we can place a terrestrial scanner. It is very similar to total station, and using terrestrial scanner also we can scan the surface, any terrain, and we can generate 3D.
Okay, thank you, sir, for this very informative session. Now, I would like to thank you, Dr. M.S. Gadhvi, to give us a very insight into the applications of GIS in civil engineering. And I would like to conclude our webinar now. And all the participants have listened very carefully, and they have also enjoyed the session, I would say. With few hurdles, this webinar was very successfully completed. Nayan, Soni,
I'm also thankful to team, organizing team, and to all the audience for their presence.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for your such a nice session. I would like to request you to provide your email ID or mobile number. I feel email ID will be better, so that the participants of whom still few questions are remaining can be asked later on.
I can write down on this chat box. Can I? May I do that?
Yes, that will be better. They will be collecting it from there only.
Okay. Let me put it here. So, okay, that's my email ID here. So,
on behalf of whole Shatila Shah Engineering College, the Department of Civil Engineering, I would like to thank once again, sir, for delivering such a nice session, which is, I feel, from the beginning I was keep observing, we are having a great response for this particular webinar, whereas almost 150 participants joined us, and they retained for more than 1 hour together. And all the participants also have took their participation along with due what we can say involvement, and made this webinar in absolute terms of what we can say interactive. So thank you, sir. Thank you once again.